Okay, Dora's Loft. We're still on it. Let's tackle the plants. There can't be that many. It's just a little loft apartment, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, 19. Oh boy. Well, let's get started. Okay, there's a lot here, so I think we're going to be splitting this into 2 parts because there's so many plants. Yeah, I underestimated. This is almost as many plants as Emily's flower shop. Not quite, but pretty darn close. But our first thing here is, I had to look it up, is a parterre.
Parterre.
I did not know what that was. It's apparently a level space in a garden or yard occupied by an ornamental arrangement of flower beds. Okay, well, we're gonna make it. Now, what they wanted you to do was to take this white sheet of paper and sandwich it with the cardboard and then cut out each individual little squares, which you certainly could do. And I started to, but I thought, you know what? I have tons of this plastic canvas and it just happens to be almost exactly like it. Why stress about it when we can just cut a piece like this? Haha. And then I just painted it white, and then we're going to use that. So while that's drying, I'm just going to do the first step here, which is to put this little frame onto the bottom of the parterre. And this is where all our moss and grass grows and things like that. So you just fill it up with moss. It doesn't matter, willy-nilly. It really, honestly, it all gets covered up. If you could cut bigger holes, if you went the route that I did, you could probably just cut bigger slots. But in the end, it doesn't matter. It's just there for pretty. And now we're going to stick on our grating. It's a little bit too big, and I did end up trimming it after everything was all dry. And then put the top on. Easy peasy. Gets the same effect, a little less cutting. All right, the first official flowers is the flower bouquet. And if you've done any of these kits before, you've done some version of any of these flowers in this series, so we should have a little bit of knowledge of what we're doing. But this one, we're just making little foofy, fringy flowers and putting them in a cone. We can do this. Now, my hot tip to you on this one is pay attention when it says ×3. I miss it a lot. Sometimes I have to backtrack and go, oh, you wanted 3 of those. So, like the leaves here, we're going to do it kind of like M30. I didn't cut it out. I just kind of eyeballed it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know how to make a leaf shape. Just curve, curve, curve. And that one says ×5. So that means 5 leaves you need to make. And we're just going to go curly, curly. I go one direction, and then the other way we go in sync. No, then we do the other direction. All right, so we got our 3 little pieces. This one I did miss. That's the reason I mentioned it. I made one and was like, wait a minute, you wanted 3 of those. Now it's very vague, because if you're going by the picture in the book that you see there, it does not say to fringe it, but staring at it, looking at the end result, you definitely fringe it. Otherwise it won't get that fluffy, ruffly look. Now I've made this kind of flower before, so just based on experience, I found that gluing down that first initial glue and let it set and dry for a little while helps you in the rolling. Because if you do it while it's wet, it's just going to twist on you and it's not going to stick to the paper. And it's just kind of tricky, or a lot trickier. So just let it glue, tack down, and then roll her up. Once we got our 3 little flowers, I always do this last, kind of let the glue settle, because the more you mess with it, the more it kind of slides all around on your little wire. So then just floof it all willy-nilly. It doesn't have to be perfect, because once it's put into your flower bouquet, it looks fine. It's kind of an abstract, all the flowers here, can't think of a literal flower. You got to think of kind of an abstract flower, because it's tiny. You're going to see it far away, and it's going to be in your project. Nobody's going to say, hey, that doesn't look like a so-and-so flower. You know, nobody cares. It's pretty. And here we're just making a cone. It's kind of gloopy and tricky because you're working against the curvature of the paper. But sometimes if you kind of pre-curl it with your pliers there, it'll help you out. And then I just hold it in place for just a few seconds with my pliers, and it'll stick. Again, less glue, the better. It'll dry a lot faster. And before we start filling it, I'm going to pre-curl all the leaves. If you've ever done like wrapping ribbon, it's the same concept. I just use my nail and just kind of zoop, and it makes a little curl. It's real easy with the little tiny things. And now we're just gonna fill our little bouquet cone. And I put a glop of glue in there. And just arrange them how you want. You don't have to do it by the picture. Just get the right components in there. And the last part is putting some of the little white beads. I just put some dabs of glue here and there, and that's where the white beads would end up. Not exactly where I wanted them, but hey. All right, so before we get too far, we kind of are going to backtrack because I'm trying to keep the like for like. So this is part of, this will go with that flower bouquet because it's all one piece in the end. So we might as well do them all together. These little baskets, I had a little mini flashback of the wire basket from the Emily's Flower House, but don't fret, it's not that hard. We can do this. It's I don't know why that other one was so fiddly and touchy, but I mean this one's fiddly, but it's not as bad. I think because it's smaller. So we're just going to take those big pieces and we're going to cut it. And I do go just by their measurements. And it does work out, see? See, following directions sometimes works. And those are in millimeters, by the way. And I'm just going to glue that corner. And then on the other pieces, it says ×2. We're going to make those little staple shapes. Okay, we got all our pieces bent. Now we just gotta stick it all together. So this is where I'm like, oh boy, am I gonna get a flashback, some PTSD from making the wireframe shelf? It's not too bad. We learn, right? So less glue, the better, because then it just kind of tacks and stays. And we're just going to do one section at a time. If you have to, do one piece, let it dry, do the next piece, let it dry. Because it will want to fold up on you. Just take your time. All right, we did it, yay! Okay, so once we got that far, I did let it dry a little bit. Now we gotta do the cross beams. So, and they're not gonna fit absolutely perfect. If you want to, you can trim it down. But like I said, once you get all the stuff in it and around it, it'll look fine. And they're still super cute. It's like somebody made it out of noodles. And so you just build it up as you go. Again, if you want to, you can just put one piece, let it dry, and then wait till the next one. Now I use this green piece of paper purely because my cutting mat is yellow and you would have never seen it. So I used it so that you could see what I was doing. But if it sticks to your table or your cutting mat, you just use your razor blade thing and just gently push it up and let it dry. Ta-da! We're almost there. Now we got to do the side little cross beams. Gently, gently. And there we go. Looks like a little shopping basket. Now next up, that's in our shopping basket, I'm basically doing everything that goes in this little basket. And one of them is this little paper bag. There's the only one in the whole thing. So we've done these before with coffee shops and things like that, right? So you just fold it on all the dotted lines, and we're going to put it together like a little bag. Well, like a bag. It is a bag. For little glue together pieces like this, especially 2 pieces of paper, I like to use my pliers to just kind of clamp it together because your fingers are just a little bit too small to hold it together. So I just use my pliers, hold it there so that it gets a good stick, and then we can start rolling the bag. And I just put a little indent on each side, boop, boop, and then roll her up. Okay, now it's all going to come together. So here's our cute little basket. We're going to put in our little bag of, what do you think it is? A bag of cookies, a bag of coffee, could be anything really. We're going to put it right in there. And then we'll put in our little bouquet. Ta-da! And I like to put the ugly side down. There we go. Ta-da! All right, here's the first pot plant number 1. There's 20 of them, I think. This is number 1. Easy. We're just gonna get these little pink, I don't know what they are. They're supposed to be like stamens or something, but just cut them all off and they go flying everywhere. I'm going to glue the little green band around first. They wanted you to do that after you put the flowers in. I figured it would be a little bit easier to put the band on before I fill it. And I did pre-curl it like a ribbon. Makes it a lot easier for you. And then just wrap it around. It doesn't lay flat. I tried, but get it as best you can. Once you get that part, you can kind of hold it with your finger while it's drying and fill her up with little pink flowers. Yeah, see how they wanted you to fill it first and then, I would think, for me anyway, it would have been a little awkward to work around the flowers in there. And potted plant done. That's an easy one. Okay, this project has a lot of clay pieces, and I say clay loosely because it's kind of that foam weird clay. So it wants it to be 10 millimeters tall, and that's the number 1 on your centimeter side. 1 centimeter? So 10 is 1 centimeter, yeah. Now this stuff is really sticky, but the trick is to roll it around in your hands and ta-da, it comes right off. It's kind of like Play-Doh, but not quite. It's very strange clay. So I'm just going to roll these little tiny leaves approximately to the size they want, and you're going to make 10 of them. I did let it dry just for a little bit so that you can still get the individual leaf definition. If I did it all while it was wet, I say in quotes, it would all smush together, kind of like a melted marshmallow. So let it dry a little bit and then squish it together. I'm slightly learning how to work with this foamy clay. It's interesting. I also found trying to squish it into the container, and when it's a little bit malleable, it does kind of get a little creased and smushed too, but eh. And then I used my paint pen. I think it was a little bit too dark, but it still gets the right effect. I tried to lessen it out with my paintbrush, but I think it dried a little too fast, but it's not bad. It probably would have been good to use like a powder of some sort and just kind of dust it like a blush. All right, number 3. The difficulty goes up just a smidge each time. So this one is kind of like the first one, but we got a couple extra steps. So it's got a little handle. So it says it on the very first thing. It says cut it to 25 millimeters. So L length 25 mm. So that's length 25 millimeters. Just in case. I get a lot of questions about millimeters and centimeters. That's why I was trying to answer those. It is confusing at first if you don't work with the metric system. And then I just found a paintbrush that is about the size that they wanted it, which is a 5 millimeters. And I'm going to wrap the little pineapple thing around that. And the little base is just 2 pieces of cardboard. I lost my tip there, so that's why it's a little gloopy. It comes off every once in a while. I have to find... I think I need to just get a glue bottle that's just to use this in this instance, because sometimes their bottles are hard to work with. And for this little wire, we're just going to make a little loop. I'm just using my round nose pliers. Ta-da! Just like that. And just purely by accident, it ended up at 15. Perfect. I'm working on being more exact in my measurements. It's kind of one of my drawbacks. I kind of willy-nilly everything. I even do that in cooking and everything. It's like, a little bit of that, some of that. So I'm working on being a little more precise. And then I'm going to put this little handle right on the crease, or what we say, the ugly side, you know. We're going to hide that crease right there, and then fill it up with your plants. There you go. Cute. We're already at number 4. We're getting there. You just gotta keep on trucking. Now, this one, so you're gonna see this row of leaves. I have, in past kits, this has always been pre-perforated. So this kit, that does not exist. You're going to cut out every single piece, no matter how teeny tiny it is. So just be aware of that. Just take your time. It is 2-sided, so that does help. So you can do the little curvy cuts on the leaves. It's not too bad, but it is a little tedious. So just cut out all your parts and pieces, and you're going to cut out a whole bunch of pink and yellow. We're going to make a lot of flowers here. Alright, on this one I notice it does not tell you, how many little pieces of wire you need. It's in there. It says 13 millimeters. So I'm gonna we're making, I think it was 8 flowers, so we kind of have to use some logic puzzle building here. And so you're gonna make 8 of the little rods, or 10, something like that. Anyway, I think it was 10. And you're going to fold each piece of paper in half and try to put a little hole in the middle. I tried using a pen, and then I ended up just folding it in half and then folding it in half again and then cutting the corner. That worked best for me. And it's also what they said in the little picture too. And cut the hole teeny, teeny, tiny. Don't cut it too big, otherwise it's not going to fit well onto your little wire. See, just like that. So on this one, the first one is always a little tricky because you're not used to making that particular flower. By the time you get to the 10th one, you're a pro. So what I found is kind of creasing in between each of the folds. Again, you do not have to be perfect on this. You just kind of smoosh it up. But I tried just like that. And I had a dollop of glue right in the middle. So I kind of pre-creased it, dollop glue, and then smush it. That's the best way I can describe it. And you kind of get a little tulip-looking little flower, just like that. It's going to look wrong in your head, but trust me, it looks fine in the end. See? And then you're going to make 3 of the little yellows and 8 of the pink ones. And we're going to start placing them in our little bowl. I guess it's a flower pot. So the first thing, all those little leaves that we cut out, I'm going to pre-curl every single one of them. And then I'm going to put them all around the edge of my little flower pot here. And just so that I don't get my fingers stuck on all the glue, I'm just going to use my little pencil, just kind of push it in there. It does get messed up after a while. I did end up putting my finger in there and then boop, see? It's all right. We can fix it. No big deal. This was, for some reason in this batch, was my most intimidating. I actually saved this for last because I was like, there's so many parts. I don't want to do this one. But it's not that bad. Once you get all your pieces here, then we just put it all in. And this is what I mean. They're all smushed, crinkled little flowers. When you put them all together, it looks like a whole bouquet of little flowers. There you go. Perfect. Very cute. Sometimes these things don't show how small these are. They're tiny. This one, a nice breather. Pot plant number 5. Super easy. So I'm going to cut it to size of the pot here and put it in. I look forward to doing these because they're nice and easy and I can whip it out in a minute. Alright, we got another clay one. So this one they want you to kind of mix and match. I've been saving all my little pieces, so when I made the cat I made some pink. So I saved that and I'm just going to use that instead of mixing more. And these little, oh gosh, they kind of remind me of pussy willows kind of. But not. I'm not sure what they're supposed to be. They're just kind of flower buds on a branch kind of look. So again, it's going to come out really sticky, so we're just going to roll it. My son said it's kind of like you're rolling a booger. Yep. So you're going to make a whole bunch of those. And then you're going to make teeny tiny little pink nubbies. And then stick it on the end. Boop. Done. I mean, these are super easy. They're just tiny. Alright, so we're going to cut 3 pieces of wire. So 70 means 7 centimeters. There we go. 3 different sizes. I think the hardest part of this little piece is trying to get these little guys to stick to your wire. I found, and I'm trying to see how far down on the wire I need to go so that it still sticks out of the glass jar. But I found now, first I tried just sticking it on just like this, and they do not like to do that. They fall off. I tried putting it on the ground. Kind of indenting them into the wire helped. Also, that very top one, I just literally kind of jammed it on the end of each one, too. This takes patience, because they like to roll all over the place, as you can see. So I just ended up doing one at a time, kind of smushing it on a little bit. There we go. And then the end piece, you just put it on the end. And make sure it's still there where it fits in. And there we go. I actually like this one. Once it was done, then you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of cute. I mean, mine was a little bit bulbous, but I think you get the idea. Hey, number 7, here we go. All right, this one we're gonna make a little flower planter box and some, I don't know, what kind of flowers you think those are? Little tulip looking things. So the box, very easy. We're just gonna cut out the outer layer. Now, worst case, if you didn't want to do the paper part, which isn't bad, you could paint these. Either way, doesn't matter. And we're just going to build our little box. The little side pieces go to the inside. You have to kind of look at the picture there of what overlaps where. Because if you did it the opposite way where that went on the outside of the piece, then it would be too big and your blue paper wouldn't fit. So do pay attention to where the placement of the little wood pieces are. Now once that's dry, and the key word is let that dry, otherwise it's going to collapse on you when you do this part. So just stick your little paper on. I did the two sides with glue at first, kind of get it on there, and then you get glue all over the place. That's normal. And this glue is very stringy too, by the way. And then do the other two sides. Alright, now we got this little top piece, and if you get little pieces like that, just take your nail file and boop, get rid of that little sucker. Makes it easier to stick the paper on, because you're going to line the whole sides with that long skinny piece of paper. So let's do the top piece first. Stick it down. Now I wanted you to do this side piece once you already have it glued onto the other one. I'm going to do it now just so it's not as fiddly. It's a little easier. So it just wrap it around. It even gives you a dotted line of where to go. That's where it's going to overlap. And if it gets a little too funky, you can always trim that down once it's dry. And then just glue it to the top. And you got yourself a little planter. Okay, now we're going to make little flowers. So this is our pattern. We're going to cut this out, and then you're going to trace 6 of these. Now if you wanted to, you probably could freestyle this however you want. Make it a little easier. They look like little dinosaur paw prints, you know. But you just need 6 of them, because you're going to make 2 flowers that uses 3 of these petals each. And by the end, we're going to be extra pros making these little leaves. So just one side, and then cut the other side. Swoop. I almost debated as like, I should just make a whole bunch of leaves and just set it aside. But I'll make them as I go, because you never know. And it also asked for 2 pieces that's 75 millimeters long and 5 millimeters tall. And then you have 1 piece of wire that's at 40 millimeters, and then you're going to just kind of fold it in half. You're going to make a flower at each end. Honestly, you could cut this in half if you wanted to, and just have 2 flowers. They're just going to get stuck in that flower planter box thing anyway. Okay, so what we're going to do with these long green strips, and I pre-curled it a little bit, is we're just going to... It's going to be kind of the center of your flower. So I'm going to try doing it without pre-sticking it, and you're going to see how it rolls around. So I do suggest gluing it, letting it dry, and then rolling. And it can be as tight or as loose as you want. Ultimately, it just becomes the center, so you're good. It'll just make your flower a little bigger. if you make it loose. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and this time I'm going to just do a couple rolls and let it dry before I completely circle it around. I'm going to clamp it and set it aside for a minute because it's fighting me. Sometimes things need a timeout. Alright, once they're all set, then you're just going to place 3 of these little paws around. Just like that. Just kind of stagger them. And once you get them all on there, you just kind of bend the little petals down and you get a flower. Kind of like a little sunflower almost. And you can see how that center roll becomes kind of the center of your little sunflower there. It's not a sunflower, but it's kind of like that. Once you get those going, then you're just going to stick 2 leaves on each flower. So I pre-curled those little leaves so they kind of flip out, and then put them on on each side. You can put them anywhere you want. Now you're going to notice that you have extra leaves, which I did question too. But once you stick it in the planter, you'll see that you just kind of put the extra ones in there too. It kind of fills in the planter box. Alright, and then we're just going to kind of bend it until it's the right size, just like that. And I did end up kind of squishing it down a little because I felt it stuck up too much, but then I put all those extra leaves in there. For some reason I didn't show it, but it's there. Alright, now we're going to make another one. It's all stuff that we've done before, so we're going to cut a long piece of green and we're going to fringe it up. And we're going to make a bunch of these. We're ultimately making 4 of these. So once you got it all fringed up, you just roll them up. This one's a little easier because it's bigger. It's kind of easier to deal with. And once you get it all rolled up, you just punk it out. Just floof it, floof it, floof it. And it does say grass times 4. So you're making 4 little poofs here. Okay, we're gonna make a whole bajillion of these little things. Like I said, in the past, this has already been pre-cut out for us. We were spoiled with those. These, not so much. You're gonna cut every single one. So it gives you a little pattern. I am not cutting that out. So I'm finding a pen that's about the same size. That's pretty darn close. That's gonna be my pattern. So we want to make 8 of those, and so I'm just going to cut out. I ultimately, to be honest, I just made as many as I could and worked with what I got. Same with the yellow. I think they wanted the ratio to be more red than yellow, and I think I did it the other way around or something like that. Once you got your little circles, and if you had a big hole punch, this would work too. But they are pretty decent size. They're about 10 millimeters wide, so maybe not quite that many, but I just stacked them all together and then fringed them all together. No reason to cut each one individually. Save your hands. Now, to get the little hole in the middle, I folded it in half. I did these 3 by 3, 3 petals, and then folded it in half again, and then cut the little corner off. That seemed to work for me. And then you just kind of open it up. I put the wire in there and put some glue to stick it together. It's kind of fiddly, but these are cute little flowers. So I put a little glue, put my wire in through all of the layers, and then stuck a gold bead at the end. Now I kind of stopped there and just kind of let it dry so that it's officially stuck onto the wire. And these beads, oh boy, they do fit. You just gotta kind of find one. There it goes. Kind of like poppies. Very cute. So I did kind of set those aside to dry before I manipulated it too much. There we go. We got, yeah, they wanted 3 yellow and 2 red. I did it the opposite way. It doesn't matter. And then I kind of floofed them as I went. So what we're gonna do before we get too far, because these all go into a little basket. So just like the yellow basket, except this one's a little different shape, we're gonna cut all our pieces first. And oh, did I mention that you need to hold down your pieces when you cut them? They go flying everywhere, at least for me. And there's a lot of parts, so I just sat down and just started cutting away and keep them organized so we can figure it out. It seems intimidating. It did for me, to be honest, but once you get your pieces laid out and you just do it just like they say, step by step, it's not too bad. Okay, there's 2 extra long pieces, and these are the ones that are going to get folded up into the little kind of little V shapes. So I always go by, I'm going by the 18. Gonna make it a little V shape. And 18. Keep my pliers to the inside of the measure line. And we're just gonna follow along. Once you get to the end, you should have a little foldy bracket here, and I just glue that end piece, and then it has a little in the elbow area a cross beam there. Ta-da! And you're gonna do both of them the same. One's just smaller than the other. Same idea though. Okay, honestly, that was probably the trickiest part of the whole thing. So now we're gonna do the cross beams. So there's little diagonals, and these go on the bigger piece. So the bigger L, uppercase L, and it's just gonna go diagonal. It's gonna slide all over. If this is too tricky and it's falling all the pieces, the biggest thing I could probably suggest is do one piece and let it dry and then move on to the other one. See, because it will start to annoy you after a while. Patience. Get into your Zen mode. All right, now we're gonna do the little bottom pieces. I guess it's marked C on those. So what I found is I'm just going to do all the little bottom cross beams first, and then I'll stick that side B piece on it after that, because I can kind of see where they should go if my hand's not in the way there. It's tricky to film these sometimes because you want to actually build it correctly, but you also want to show it, so you kind of have to go in awkward positions to so that you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So we're going to do 4 little pieces on the bottom. Once you got those in place, you can kind of see where the other one should be going. And it just goes right there. Have you ever played the game Operation? That's what this reminded me a lot of. I was okay at that game, so I guess that's why this is okay. Don't worry about the globs of glue. They dry clear. And this is also going to get filled with plants, so you're not going to see a lot of this. And then you got 2 more cross beams to do. So one right there. And one on the other side. Boom. And leave it alone. Don't touch it. It will fall apart. Like when I'm trying to pick it up off of my cutting board. Leave it alone. I should have just let it dry because it's gonna fall apart. It's okay. See how it's kind of folding? Yee. It's okay. We'll fix it. It's not the prettiest little box, but it'll work. You can kind of clean it up once it's dry. Keyword, let it dry. Alright, the reason we backtracked and made that little basket is because of this. We want to put our flowers in it. So there's 4 little grass bundles that we made, right? Well, I put these all in, and I found that they were a little too tall, I felt like. So I did trim off some of the end to make it a little more stout. There we go. I felt like that was a little better. And then you just put in your flowers however you like. You don't have to do it how they say. Just whatever looks nice. A little bit of floofing, and I think that looks just fine. Cute. See what I mean about the basket? You didn't have to do it too perfect because it's all going to get covered with the plants and leaves. All right, back to the clay. This one's easy. There's a lot of cactuses and succulents in this one. I'm going to do the cactuses in the next video. But we'll do some of these succulents here. So they just want you to make a little bit more of a blue-green color. So again, I'm saving my pieces from the other parts and pieces, and you can kind of use the same green if you wanted to. That way you don't waste all your clay. I don't think you're going to end up using all your clay, to be honest, but I don't like wasting. And the first thing you're going to make is this little planter. So they want it to be 12 millimeters by 7. So, and it's just a little square rectangle. Just use your fingers to square it off. Once we get that to about size, we're going to set it aside and we're going to make our itty bitty cactus. It's just a little, it's about 18 tall. I'm glad they gave measurements because it kind of gives you an idea of how big, because ultimately right now I don't know where it goes in the space. So if you made it too big, it might not fit where they want you to stick it, especially if they want you to put it on a shelf or something. It's only so tall. So it might be beneficial to look at the end and say, where were you going to put that? Okay, don't go too big. And then it's got a little arm, just like a little cartoon cactus. You just stick it on the side. This one's pretty easy. And I'm just using the pink that I made for the cat, and just put little teeny tiny, they look like horns, but it's a little, I guess, a little flower at the top of the cactus. There you go. Ta-da! And then you're just gonna glue it into the bottom. Now, if you took time between these two pieces, they're not gonna stick together. But if you did it while one or the other is wet, it will just stick right on. And there you go. And lastly, just to throw people off, we're going to put a label on and call it flowers. All right, this one, I swear I filmed the beginning of this. I don't know where the video went. I lost it. But basically, I cut out these little patterns and I made a bajillion of them. And then I hand cut each individual little petaled flowers. These were tedious. And before that, I made a little planter, exactly the same as we made the little blue planter. So you're going to make a box and then cover it in the paper. That's all you missed. So yeah, I cut the pattern piece and traced them all out. You don't have to be perfect on these, but because the petals weren't exactly like the fringy ones, I kind of wanted to do it how they said, just to see how they turned out. These are a little more ruffly, kind of like a hydrangea, like a hyacinth, you know, the little long, skinny ones. So, and you're going to make 12 of these. There's a lot to cut out. There's also a bunch of leaves, so we're professionals at these now. I think there's 10 of them, yeah. There's 10 leaves, so just cut 10, approximately to the size that they want. Okay, we got all our parts and pieces, which honestly was the hardest thing of the whole thing. And they wanted you to punch a hole using the light thing in the kit. I didn't want to do that. We're not going to ruin our little light bulb thing. So I stacked a bunch together and then did the whole fold in half, cut the corner kind of thing. So this threw me off a little bit. I think they wanted you to double up the wires. As you can see, B times 2, and then you got 6 petals. I only did 1. It seemed to be just fine. I'm not sure what they were trying. Maybe it's just to make it more beefy. But 1 worked for me. You could double it up if you like. So what I found is putting a glob of glue, getting the leaves on there, and it kind of staggers down the wire, and then squish it. So there you go. And there's your flower. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other one. And I think the more you play with it, the more foofy it would be. So this one, I couldn't quite get how they wanted you to do it, and I didn't match the picture exactly, but we still got cute little purple flowers in the end. And we're going to stick the little leaves on. This is another one where you're going to see that you're going to have a lot of extra leaves, but that's just because you stick them in the box to fill it in. Alright, time to put them in the box. Just glue them. I did end up cutting those wires down just a smidge because they didn't fit in the box how I thought they should. Because one was super long. And then just fill in all those gaps there with the extra leaves. I do like these flowers. I thought they turned out really pretty. And ta-da! Yeah, those are cute. But I like purple too, so those are very pretty. Okay, so I think that's where we'll end that. We got a lot more to do. I thought I wanted to do this all in one video, but after starting this, it's like, this video is going to be 1,000,000 hours long. There's no way you guys would watch that. So I'm going to split it into two, plus I needed a little bit of brain break in between some flowers. I do this kind of in real time, so I build a bunch and then I send the video. I build a bunch, then I have a mental schedule every week, in case you didn't know. So, because otherwise, as you're building them, you'll just get burnt out, wouldn't you? If I just made it nonstop. I should be ahead, but I'm not that type. But we got this far. I hope this was helpful if you're making this along with me. So we're gonna, in the next video, it looks like we have a lot of cactuses to do and our old-time favorite, roses. I will try to be nice and slow and detailed. Roses, they're tricky, but they're not. So, and there's a lot of them. So I will see you in the next video. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. And you have a great day. Bye-bye.